right, so here we have our different run workout types from email number 5, right? On the left, we have intensity. They go from lower intensity to higher intensity. On the right, we have frequency. And what I mean by frequency is both like within a given program, how frequently you would do these, but also within like the big picture of our training, within a block, within the year, what we would do more frequently, the higher we go up. But you will notice that I put like a line here underneath recovery, because recovery is recovery. I'm mainly talking about easy, steady state, tempo, and VO2 max. So from those, we do easy side of things more frequently, and then we do the VO2 max side of things less frequently, okay? So what I want to do now is I'm going to drop an example of that, both within an example of a train up for a race, and then we're going to look at that in a general physical preparation kind of across a year, how that may look. All right, so here we're going to lay out an example of a 20-week prep to get ready for an ultra. And this isn't just some scenario that I'm making up. I'm going to loosely use a train up that I used for my most recent race, okay? So at the time that I decided, yes, I'm going to do this race, and I looked at my calendar, I set aside 20 weeks to get ready. It wasn't starting from scratch. This was coming off of another race, about a 3-month recovery, which meant I was training just much lower volumes, and then I'm really going to ramp things up for 20 weeks. What I did was I started with the race date. So it's like I could say right here, R for race day, and then we work backwards. 2-week deload, and then I had 3 4-week phases, and I had a 6-week phase before that. What I did was I started with an aerobic base building period, just to start to get the volume back up to get ready for everything to come. So what that would look like is on Monday, I did an easy run. On Tuesday, I didn't run. On Wednesday, I did an easy run. On Thursday, I did a fast finish easy run. On Friday, I did an easy run. On Saturday, I did an easy long run. And then Sundays were off, okay? So generally followed this kind of an approach for 6 weeks. Yes, I lifted. No, we're not going into the details of how that was laid out here. The short of it is I lifted most of the time on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's about as detailed as I'm gonna get. Okay, but after the 6 weeks of aerobic base building, I went into my first 4-week intensity block. Now, getting ready for an ultra, you're gonna start with the least specific type of training, which for an ultra is gonna be high intensity work. So I went VO2 max, but that doesn't mean that I just did VO2 max every day, like everywhere that you see an E on here, okay, those are gonna be a V for VO2 max. No, you just need less low frequency with the higher intensity stuff. So what I really did was I actually mixed steady state and VO2 max. On Monday, I did steady state. On Tuesday, I wasn't off, and I wasn't off in this phase either. I did like aerobic recovery circuits, which I wrote about in one of the emails. So we'll say AR, aerobic recovery circuits. On Wednesday, I did an easy run. On Thursday, I did my VO2 max intervals. On Friday, I did an easy run. And then on Saturdays, I did an easy long run, okay? And I didn't do this exactly for 4 weeks. This I really did like for 6 weeks. This I did for 3 weeks. And then the 4th week, I would have a little bit of a deload, all right? We're not gonna go into the details of a deload right here, but I would have like a mini deload in week 4. After that, I just worked my way down. We're going least specific to most specific. During an ultra, like, yes, you're working hard, but your efforts are spread out over so many miles that you wind up running at relatively easy paces to pace yourself for the task at hand, right? So I went from VO2 max into tempo, but I made it a little more specific for the race by doing the mixed long runs that I talked about in the email, where it was tempo mixed into long runs. So what that looked like, on Monday, I kept my steady states. On Tuesday, I kept my aerobic recovery circuits. Wednesday, easy. Thursday, Thursday is when I did it. I did easy, long, mixed. Friday, I did easy. And then Saturday, I did easy, long. So easy, long, all right? Did that for 3 weeks, and then in the 4th week I deloaded. Now I do think at one point I realized I didn't like doing the long mixed. So I wrote that as easy long. It's not what I should write. It's mixed long. Mixed long, which is where I had the tempos. Mixed long on Thursday. But I think in week 2, I wound up flipping this, and I went easy, easy, and I went mixed long on Friday. It doesn't matter, but the point is, I did that intensity really just this one day, and then I still had my steady state progression in here. 4th week, we deloaded. Then we went into another 4 weeks of intensity. All right, and for this one, I wound up getting very specific for the race. So basically, I kept my steady states. I kept my aerobic recovery circuits. I did easy. I did easy. I did easy. And then, I'm sorry, Friday was not easy. It was, but Friday was easy long. Saturday was easy long. So I purposely did back-to-back long runs in my final 4 weeks of intensity, because that's going to be the most specific getting ready for a 50-mile ultra, by doing an easy but long run. Long being 2, maybe 3 hours on Friday, then turning around and going back out for another 2.5, 3, whatever hours on Saturday. I'm starting Saturday on tired legs. Some of it's psychological, some of it's physiological, but this is where I'm getting into my really specific prep for the ultra. And then I had a 2-week deload, which basically was recovery. Like there was some higher intensity stuff early in the deload, but it was shorter duration. But I worked my way down to recovery and easy efforts as I got close to the race. Took like the last day off before, right? And then race day. The main thing I want you to take away from this is that during an easy block, it is basically all easy. There was some fast finish easy work in there, but it was just easy and easy long. When we got to VO2 max, it wasn't VO2 max, VO2 max, VO2 max. It was, you could replace steady state. This is just what I did. You could do easy, aerobic recovery, easy, VO2 max, easy, easy long. This is a VO2 max block, even though there's way more easy work. The easy work is like evergreen in your programming, because that's where you get the volume, and it's at enough intensity that you're developing and maintaining that aerobic base, right? Same thing whenever we get to tempos. Even though I did them as mixed long, you could just replace V with T. It could have been easy, aerobic recovery, easy, tempos, easy, easy long. I just happened to have done the mixed tempos into the long runs, right? So again, main point is that easy is evergreen. They're going to be in the program more frequently. This other stuff, as we get further down, is going to be in there less frequently. Most of like tempo and VO2 max is just going to be occasionally in specific phases of training. All right, now let's look at all this with a general physical preparation annual plan in mind. And this is exactly what we do in hybrid performance. We break the year into 4 quarters, 4 blocks of training: capacity, max strength and aerobic power, armor and resilience, strength and hypertrophy. Each one lasts for 12 weeks and then is followed in a 13th week by a testing week, so that you can see how you actually responded to the previous 12 weeks of training, all right? During capacity, we are working more on extensive strength. Most people are familiar with intensive strength. I pick up a really heavy weight, I put it down. That's intensive. Think of it as more like powerlifting type strength. Do the thing, rest a while, do the thing again. Intensive. Extensive strength is pick up the really heavy thing, put it down, recover, pick up the heavy thing, put it down, recover, and do it a lot and build up to lots of sets. It's as detailed as I'm going to get in the description on that for now, but teaser, we have a book coming out on the different types of strength training, including assessments and all kinds of stuff. So just a little teaser on that. But capacity is mostly focused on extensive strength here in the gym. Then we progress on to max strength. Ignore the fact that it says aerobic power for right now. Max strength. So intensive strength. That's that pick up something heavy, put it down, long rest, and then repeat, right? Intensive strength. Then we go into armor and resilience, which we used to call a recovery block, but no one wants to do a recovery block. That's not sexy, right? So we call it armor and resilience because it sounds cool. But it doesn't mean that the training, if we did call it recovery, it doesn't mean that the training is easy. It's just that we are really dumping fuel on the extensive strength fire. We are really dumping fuel on the intensive strength fire. We can't just keep like hammering real hard in one direction, or we're gonna have so much fatigue accumulate, bad things are gonna happen. So during armor and resilience, we don't hammer one specific thing, we mix it up. So basically we have a mix of some extensive strength, some intensive strength, and we're not doing anything that's like crazy high intensity, all right? We'll talk about the conditioning and all of this in a second. And finally, to round out the year, it's winter, the temperatures are getting a little bit colder, people are putting on a little bit more layers of clothing, there's parties, the food, let's take advantage of it, and let's just work on strength and more the hypertrophy strength and hypertrophy side of things, okay? But now let's go back and talk about all these run workouts we just talked about and how those layer into here, what we focus on at different times of the year, okay? So during a capacity phase, because we're doing so much extensive strength work, think of that as volume, right? We can't do all that volume and then be like, all right, now we're gonna go do super high intensity VO2 max intervals. We have so much volume here that our running just cannot be that taxing. So this is a time of year where we really focus on easy. In total, this capacity block is an aerobic capacity development, right? So it's easy runs. As we get into phase 3, we'll work on some like fast finish type easy work to get us ready for what's coming. But we keep capacity mostly easy. So you think of that as that would be kind of like here, the example of the 6-week aerobic base building, like easy aerobic recovery circuits, easy, a fast finish easy run, easy, maybe an easier long off on Sunday. That would be pretty appropriate. Obviously, it would be varied because it's over 12 weeks. It'd be pretty appropriate for a capacity block. When we get to max strength and aerobic power, okay, now we're starting to work more intensive strength. So in the gym, the volume isn't as crazy high. Yes, we're training with intensity, but we have more recovery time in the gym. And so we match stressors and also work on aerobic power. Ultimately, we're gonna build to working on VO2 max in here, but really it means we're probably gonna do some thresholds in phase 1, a little bit longer thresholds in phase 2. I could also make the case for longer thresholds in phase 1, shorten them to increase the intensity in phase 2, and then go VO2 max. But point being, we would start to work to, in phase 3, finally crushing some VO2 max intervals, okay? Once we get to armor and resilience, remember this is more recovery, but it doesn't mean that, all right, we just have to go back to easy. It's just that we don't want to hammer things incredibly hard with more VO2 max interval work or really hard thresholds or tempos all the time, right? So here it's like, it's gonna be a good bit of easy work. I'm probably gonna mix in a little bit more recovery runs during the actual week, and then we'll have some steady state work in there. Towards the end of it, sure, we may work in some tempos or some really short VO2 max intervals, like boatloads of 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, which we didn't exactly cover in the email, but we can still mix in intensity. But again, we're not gonna hammer it because armor and resilience is kind of a recovery block. And then at the end of the year, going into strength and hypertrophy, it really depends. But what I've written up as what we're probably gonna do this year is it will be a lot of easy running, but we will really build up the volume because we're playing a volume game here, but the intensity isn't super high on stuff. So we'll probably build up the volume with longer, easy runs, maybe some mixed, different mixed type runs here, and keep getting people outside in the colder temperatures. But I hope this helps, okay? So this is just taking the run workouts that we talked about in email number 5, used it in an example in 20 weeks to prepare for an ultra, and then just big picture how you would put these things into a GPP annual plan. You wouldn't just do these things all the time and slap them in at random. You would think about how they pair with what you're doing in the gym in a general physical preparation annual plan, and you would think about whatever event you're getting ready for, going least specific to most specific. So this would look different for a marathon, for a half marathon, for a 5K, right? You would have to think about, well, what's most specific for whatever it is that I'm doing, and you would make sure that you end up in your final block really working on that, and you would do the less specific stuff further out. So hope this helps. If you have any questions whatsoever, just shoot me a message and I will help you out however I can. Talk soon.